Okay. All right, welcome everyone on this beautiful July day. I call the meeting to order of our regular July 10th, 2023 City of New Ulm Park and Rec Commission meeting. Let's start with a roll call. Jim, if we could start with you.
Jim Bastian.
Lindbergh.
Christian.
Amy Johnson.
Carissa Bugler.
Cheryl Corman, staff.
Joey Schugel, staff.
Welcome everyone. Let's start with an approval of the agenda. I'll seek a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Same sign. Motion has carried. And an exciting number 4 on our agenda, a new staff member presentation. Joey, congratulations and welcome as our new director of Park and Rec for the City of New Ulm.
Well, thank you, Chair Bugler and Commissioners. First of all, I just want to say I'm excited and thankful for the opportunity to be here and get to work with all of you on a regular basis going forward here. I did just prepare a brief little background on myself and then talk about the department a little bit. So just a background on my career. So I have done about 17 years in Parks and Recreation, 12 full-time and 5 part-time. Those 12 full-time notably the past 5 years have been as Director of Recreation and Leisure Services for the City of St. Peter. And then prior to that, I was the Rec Program Supervisor for the City of New Ulm. So the years 2014 to 2018, Liz Malloy's position right now. And grew up in New Ulm, so that was an opportunity for me to move back home for that position and got to really know the department and all the great things that Park and Rec offers this community and how this community supports the Park and Rec system, which is truly, truly tremendous. Little personal background, my wife, Callie, and I raise a family in New Ulm. We have 4 children, and we are running around rampant with those, trying to keep them in activities and everything that there is to offer here in New Ulm. And I did just want to touch some on our vast and diverse Park and Rec system here. Coming into this position, I do not take that lightly. I consider myself and our community very lucky to have the amenities that we have in this community. And with that, we have very talented staff that do amazing things every day. So my goal coming in is to continue to enable staff to do all the great things they can do and really continue to offer these great opportunities for the community. So when we talk about our Park and Rec system, I like to think of us to have something for everyone. So that's whether you have your favorite park or just a favorite park bench to sit under a shaded tree, or your children learn to swim for the first time at our indoor pool, or it's your health and wellness journey, and so much in between all of that too. So that's really special to me, and I know our staff is very passionate about that, so we're going to work really hard to continue that for our community. And also how Park and Rec reaches outside of that even. We're in the tourism business, we're in economic development, we're in the health and well-being and just all the things that can make and improve the quality of life in our community is a standard that's been set here from long ago, and my goal is to continue that for many more years and into the future. So as I indicated, I'm privileged to be able to lead talented staff and allow them to do all the great things they do. And then I also wanted to touch on my predecessor, Mr. Tom Schmitz, and having the opportunity to work for him and see all the great things he allowed his team to accomplish and that he accomplished as his time here is special for me, being able to have that relationship with him as an employee for him as well. So any questions that anyone has for me on any of that?
Kurt.
Thank you for your time.
Again, welcome aboard,
Yes,
Joey.
welcome aboard. Joey, so well said. you are right. The directors, the staff who have come before you, the commissioners who have served their volunteer time have just laid a great foundation and made Park and Rec services a priority because they see beyond the impact of what, it's not just the T-ball or the pool, it's the social connectedness that we have as a community, and just it adds to our quality of life. Ecstatic that you are going to be leading us into the next generation of Park and Rec programming and services. So thank you for saying yes, and we are ecstatic to see what is yet to come.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, moving on to approval of the minutes. They were included in your packet. Looking for a motion to approve or any changes. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the June 12th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is approved. Moving on to the city council meeting recap. I can turn this over to Joey.
Thank
or
you, Chair
to- Yeah,
Bugler. And
okay.
Commissioners, I'll give a quick recap on that, and please fill in Counselor Christian if you'd like. On June 20th, there was a regular council meeting that received and filed the report from the Finance Department regarding financial summary operating results through May. Received a memorandum of agreement between the City of New Ulm and various unions for the Juneteenth holiday, and accepted Park and Rec donations. There was also on June 20th a work session, however, nothing related to Park and Rec in that work session. And then the July 5th meeting was adjourned and nothing related to Park and Rec in that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Director Schukel? If no questions, be looking for a motion to receive and order the action report.
I'll make a motion.
We have
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion has carried. Moving on to old business, the comprehensive plan update. Unfortunately, I don't have an update for you. Our meeting in the end of June was postponed. They are pulling together additional information and data so that they have a good presentation for the committee and others to respond to. So we don't have a meeting on the calendar quite yet. So hopefully at our August meeting, we'll be able to give you a better update on the comprehensive plan. Moving on to new business, donations. We have a letter from Newax with a potential donation.
Yes,
Turn
thank
over
you.
you? Okay.
Thank you, Chair Bugler and Commissioners. So in your packet on page 7, there's a donation request from New Ulm Area Catholic Schools for irrigation to the Harmon Park football field. So anyone not familiar with that area, Cathedral Greyhounds 7th through 12th grade football teams have participated in practices and games in the Harmon Park football field location, which is on the outfield of Field 2. It's a heavily used area. They've been a long-term user of that space. And if you're around there in the fall, it gets pretty beat up and pretty dry and pretty hard as the season wears on, you know, even with if we're not in super dry weather. You know, it's just the constant beating in that. So on page 7, New Ulm Area Catholic Schools received a donation request to have irrigation put in that location. And on page 8 as well, there's a project scope from Helget Lawn Care on costs and materials for that project. So staff is presenting to you really 3 options today. One of those is to accept the donation for New Ulm Area Catholic Schools and expenses related to installation of the irrigation in Harmon Park offered to the City of New Ulm and Park and Recreation Department. Another option would be to accept the donation from New Ulm Area Catholic Schools for all expenses related to installation and irrigation, as well as a stipend not to exceed $500 in 2024 to cover additional utility and maintenance expenses associated with the project, and that amount would be reviewed annually by staff. This is a pretty standard practice for staff with other user groups, finding ways to share costs and not necessarily just related to irrigation, but for our user groups. And then another option is to decline the donation request from New Ulm Area Catholic Schools. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Any questions for Director Schukel?
I just don't know why we wouldn't accept motion number 2. But that's all I got.
Director Schukel, do we charge a fee to the Catholic school for using the space?
Yes, so
Okay.
New Ulm Cathedral is charged for game use of those facilities.
Okay.
As a normal rent as through our fee schedule,
Yeah.
which is in our fee schedule. Yes,
Okay. But not for practice,
not for practice.
just for the games that are held there?
Cheryl, our Assistant
Okay.
Director Corman, may have some more information on that.
Just to give a little bit of background, years ago, the council made a motion to not charge for practices for youth activities.
Okay.
Only games. And so we've been just staying the course. We're also asked to not take on any more new projects, new expenses and things like that. And that is why we came up with the stipend idea. And, they have like maybe 4 or 5 games in there a year. But just a couple things to note about the irrigation. It's not like this would be irrigated, it's not like we would run the irrigation constantly. Obviously, we're in year 3 of a drought, and so it gets really beat up, and when you have Hermanfest in there, it really just finishes it off. There's like no grass after that event in a drought year. It's just mostly dirt. The city will benefit from the irrigation in that we won't have to, spend additional time reseeding that every year. And, we still do a limited amount of that anyway, slit seeding and such, but obviously the amount would be less if we had irrigation.
Do we charge a stipend for other irrigated spaces that are rented, like
We-
Johnson?
We do not,
Okay.
because they pay a higher user fee and they are open to any user group. And they pay for all of their use, I guess, so we don't have practices at Johnson, we only have games. And they're used by, they can be used by any school, any group. Same with baseball. Harmon is just a little bit different in that they're pretty much, Nuax is pretty much the only user group, other than Hermanfest, that uses that field. The softball fields, 1 and 3 are also irrigated, but anybody can use them. Others use them for practice. Families use them for fun with their children and things like that. So, Harmon, the outfield area where this football field is on field 2, anybody can be in there other days, but they are the main user and the main benefactor of that.
Questions related to this? Be looking for a motion, and please be specific in your motion.
I'll motion to recommend move forward to City Council. Item 2, accept the donation from the New Ulm area schools for all expenses related to the installation of irrigation, as well as a stipend not to exceed $500 in 2024 to cover the additional utility and maintenance expenses associated with the project, and this amount will be reviewed annually and is subject to change.
I'll second that motion.
And we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
I have one question to ask the commission. What are your wishes if Nuax comes back and says we can't afford the $500 per year? What would be your wishes then?
Oh, okay, they didn't put that one in, they didn't put that in. I was gonna ask that, like, why would you, okay.
The reason that staff is recommending that is because this is an additional expense that's going to be taken on by the Park and Rec, and we are asked to not take on anything new without either, a corresponding revenue or payment of some sort.
You think it's all right, just push this through, let's say Cathedral bargains with you, okay, we'll do $250 or $300 and bring it back. We have a little bit of time till next year.
Well, I think they want to get it in this year as soon as possible.
So it would start this summer.
It would, yes.
So this would go to the next city council meeting for,
Well, the language, the amount will be reviewed annually and subject to change is maybe sufficient to alleviate that problem, because that's, the $500 is
I understand where,
in 2024.
We wouldn't probably start charging till 2024 because it's not in and it's not running right now
Right.
at this point.
So it would seem to me that we can, if they want to negotiate, we can talk about that then.
Any further discussion?
Just
I
to be,
would just leave it,
just to be clear,
right.
if they say, no, we can't afford any additional fee, are you still willing to accept this donation even if they say we can't afford to take on any additional cost?
It's,
At Johnson Football Field and what we do even at the softball fields is we run the irrigation minimally to keep grass growing, but we don't water it every day.
And those numbers are reviewed and split out, so we know exactly how much we're gonna take on based on water usage in that area.
Right. And we really don't have a projection for this. It's not installed, it's not,
Well, what we've done is we've looked at the utilities in that location, and we've essentially divided it by 3, because there's 2 softball fields and there's a shelter restroom area. So that's how we came up with the $500, not to exceed. Now, if you have a year where it's raining every day and you never use it, you're not going to charge them the same.
And that has not been discussed with New X at this point?
I have discussed it with the athletic director, Alan Whitus, and he has indicated to us that we have to let him know what that would be, and then he'll have to take it up with their board to see if they're willing to pay that or not.
Well, and that's on a yearly basis, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, it would be, yeah. Well,
starting next year, but they want to put it in this year. So the commission and the city has to decide if they're willing to take this on.
it seems like we would make a motion and support the motion and recommend that motion to the city council. The city council can approve it or not approve it, and if New X were to come back to say they financially cannot do that, then that would need to come back to the commission for further discussion or directly to the city council. Maybe that would be faster.
Cheryl, do
to
you think you'll
negotiate
know by
that.
council their answer? Maybe not.
Right. I can try to get an answer by Friday, but
Yeah, I understand. That would help, but
It seems reasonable, given it is taking on a new expense. We have the direction from the city council that we can't take on any, this will add expense and water costs and maintenance for our staff. They are the sole users of it, and we're not charging them for that practice fee, and that we're open to 2025 and beyond, discussing it further, but it would help us get that first year, get it established and reestablish the grass to make it a better practice and playing field for them. Any further discussion, given the motion of number 2? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion has carried to accept the donation from NUAX for all expenses related to the installation of irrigation, as well as a stipend not to exceed $500 in 2024 to cover additional utility and maintenance expenses associated with the project, and that the amount will be reviewed annually and is subject to change. Good discussion. All right, moving on to proposed 2024 fee schedule.
Thank you, Chair Bugler and Commissioners. In your packet, on pages 9, 10, and 11, you will see the proposed 2024 Parks and Recreation fee schedule. And additionally, on page 15, there's some additional information on our philosophy in setting fees, and then some additional call-outs on why some of those fees move that way. As looking at those pages, you know, there are some highlights in yellow, and myself and both Assistant Director Corman are happy to answer any questions you may have on the schedule. We looked at fairly modest raises in a lot of the fees. Some of the fees you will see there are no additional percentage raises.
We're not able to pull them up in the agenda for whatever reason, Joey. I don't know if you could display it, if you are able
know if you'll
to
be able to
open
see it.
the attachments. I know we all thoroughly reviewed them before the meeting, but it does help with discussion if there's specific questions. Thank you. Very helpful when you make it bigger.
Okay. So with that, the goal is to not try to let fees sit for 5 years without being looked at, and then raise them, double-digit percentage points up, or and as we look at fees, we're looking at our peers and a lot of similar communities, facilities, and systems, and how fees are set, and how we fall into that. So before you are.
Who came up with these?
Our fees, so myself and Assistant Director
Okay,
Corman.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I just didn't hear that
Yep.
part.
So before you are our 2024 recommendations. We are happy to answer any questions for those. Also, as you'll note, there are 3 options as well for the fee schedule. And that's recommend City Council adopt the 2024 fees as is, as shown in your packet. Modify and recommend to City Council and adopt the 2024 Park and Rec proposed fees, or table till our next meeting. So I know there's a lot of information to go through here, but now is a good time if you have any questions or.
Do you mind just kind of slowly going through the next maybe couple pages
Yeah.
that are included? Perfect.
Okay, one question I know Mr. Schubel's familiar with, either one you can answer that. So we're gonna do the 3% again it'll come up for the Lutheran Social Service and the lunches, using the community center?
I have not, I wasn't going to bring that up for
I know
next
it's
year.
gonna- You know it'll come up.
Well, it comes up because usually our department sends notice, and we would have to do that by September. I wasn't planning on doing that this year because each time that we request a fee increase, it ends up being very complex, a very long discussion through both the commission and the council. It was not my intent to do it this next in 2025 because they just passed a fee increase for 2024, but it probably will next year.
And you're both all right with that?
Yes.
All right. If asked, I will relay that.
The new fee for 2024 of the food vending surcharge, that's just if there's an event that we are sponsoring as Park and Rec and a food truck comes in, we would charge them a small fee to be present at one of our events.
That is, Chair Bugler, that's actually for a food vendor who comes and uses facility amenities such as electricity.
Okay.
And, after food vendors are there's usually some additional maintenance cleanup from some of that. We're seeing more and more of that in the system. And trying to call out a fee to start that, because right now there isn't really anything obviously in our fee schedule that knows how to handle that. That would include outdoors at parks as well.
Okay.
So if we see more and more.
Sponsored by us or sponsored by
No.
someone who's renting the space but bringing in an outside vendor just because of the trash and the everything that
Absolutely.
comes along with it?
We
Okay.
see a lot of electricity requests and things like that. We see a lot of this at the Civic Center.
Okay, yep.
But the other facilities are would in line with this too.
Okay. So in general, for the rec center, for memberships, really proposing no changes in the cost there.
And really for that, the reason on that is we're pretty in line with other facilities
Okay.
like this.
Sure.
So Assistant Director Corman did research, and we feel really good with where we're at.
And just reading through the report, we had 10,000 visits last month, so clearly the membership is manageable for most to
Absolutely.
handle. Okay. Any other questions? So the staff are recommending one of three motions from the commission today. One is we adopt the fee schedule as presented to us, or we modify if there's anything specific, and then recommend that with the modifications, or needing further discussion, we table until our next or our September meeting. If there's no further discussion, I'm looking for a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to recommend the city council adopt the 2024 Park and Rec Department proposed fees
As
Schedule.
presented.
as
Okay.
presented.
We have a motion for number one,
I'll second it.
and we have a second for number one. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion has carried. Thank you to the staff for putting that proposal together and ensuring that we are aligned with other organizations in our region. Appreciate that. All right, moving on to number 9, reports from commissioners and staff. Department activity report.
Thank you, Chair Bugler and Commissioners. Yes, so in your packet is the Park and Rec June activity report. Again, a busy month of activity going on. Some of the things to call out, summer programs are in full swing. And new this year for day camps, there's some additional flexibility with day camps, and I know numbers have looked pretty good because of that. Program Supervisor Malloy has done a nice job looking at some additional options for families on how to be more flexible with kids. The department hosted a couple big baseball tournaments at Johnson and Miller Park, and with the Junior Upper Midwest Classic and Upper Midwest Classic, always really big events that bring a lot of people to the community. I was lucky enough to be down at one of the weekends, and the ballpark looked great. The Baseball Association should really be commended for all the work they do down there. It's great to see. It's a great baseball atmosphere and to catch a game. There's a lot down there for people to enjoy.
Former
So-
Commissioner Leroy Fleur would love to hear you say that, so
Oh.
thanks, Director Schukel.
Oh, good. And internally for staff, for the Junior Upper Midwest Classic weekend, there was actually rain. We haven't had a lot of rain, but staff did a wonderful job getting the fields ready. And with all the teams that travel, they almost got the whole tournament in, but they got to the championship game. So it was a good weekend with the weather considered that they had that weekend. Other things, partnered with the chamber to include in the Explore Minnesota app, offering buy one, get one at Herman and the Rec Center. And about 1,000 people climbed Herman Monument in June. Had over 10,000 check-ins, as you talked about, Chair Bugler, at the Rec Center. 2 different school districts, community education programs visited the Rec Center on field trips. Seal coated the recreation center parking lot and did some plumbing upgrades just in June. And then the rec center is a collection site for the United Way Stuff Up Backpack program. Any questions on the June activity report?
Busy month. Any questions for Director Schukel? All right, hearing none, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the June 2023 activity report.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion has carried. Moving on to the staff report. Dr. Schukel, or?
That's what he just,
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
We got that.
You're right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Moving on to 9.3, commissioner reports. Any reports from commissioners? Hearing none. The date of our next meeting will be August 14th, 2023, here at 4 p.m. again. Please let Danita know if you're unable to attend. Any further business? Hearing none, I will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.